Within minutes, entire neighborhoods turned into rivers, and motorists found themselves trapped in their own cars. That's the harsh reality Lagosians faced this week, as an intense downpour sent floodwaters surging through key parts of the city, paralyzing traffic, swamping homes and shops, and exposing cracks in the state's flood resilience. A city in water's grip. On Wednesday, Lagos State's usual rhythm ground to a halt. A heavy downpour triggered flash floods across several high-risk communities, with Maryland, Lekki, Ogba, and Ikorodu among the hardest hit. Scenes across social media mirrored the chaos. Residents wading through waist-high waters, motorists inching along submerged roads, and streets turning into temporary canals. In Maryland, the overflow of a canal severed the connection between Olatunji Street and adjoining Mende, cutting off access to whole blocks. One resident, Chinasa Nandi, lamented that such floods aren't new. This has been happening for years now. People even swim to their houses. Some will go as far as relocating. A local shopkeeper, Kalu, watched helplessly as his store was overtaken in minutes. I watched as people tried to scoop water out of their homes after it entered their houses. I also suffered the same fate as the water flowed into my shop. A church member, Christiana, described how the flood invaded her place of worship. It reaches half the building, destroying instruments. We'll have to spend lots to fix or replace them. Motorists held hostage. Travel turns torturous. In many areas, floodwaters proved too much for vehicles. Cars stalled, roads disappeared beneath water, and commuters were left in gridlock, some spending hours trying to board buses or find alternative paths. At the Ogba-Wempco junction, notorious during heavy rains, traffic dived to a crawl. A commuter, Tunji Abbas, told how the flooded road turned a short journey into a test of patience. Vehicles moved very slowly. It always becomes worse during rainy season. Victor Obina shared his coping strategy. On rainy days, he stays at the office overnight to avoid the chaos. By the time I get to the office, half of my body would have been soaked. Beyond individual discomfort, the economic toll becomes glaring. Every hour lost in traffic, every damaged shop or vehicle, and every drenched office costs Lagos billions annually. Public health is also at stake. Stagnant floodwaters incubate waterborne diseases, setting the stage for outbreaks in already vulnerable areas. Government response, promises, and explanations. Lagos State expressed empathy with affected residents, promising ongoing efforts to reduce flooding in vulnerable communities. Tokunbo Wahab, the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, noted that as a coastal city, Lagos is inherently flood-prone. Still, he defended the government's actions. Ongoing investment in drainage infrastructure and desilting, enforcement of environmental laws to stop encroachments and dumping, removal of illegal structures on floodplains. Wahab pointed to Lekki's Kasenla area as a critical trouble spot, blaming a mismatch between the downstream height and existing drainage capacity. A pumping station is reportedly being built to relieve pressure there. He also criticized illegal construction near the House on the Rock Church and unapproved dumping in drains, saying these exacerbated the flooding. He concluded by appealing to residents. Keeping our environment clean, refraining from dumping into drains, avoiding construction on floodplains, we can build a safer, cleaner, more resilient Lagos. Officials suggested the flood was largely a flash flood and that waters had receded by the next morning. But they acknowledged more work remains. Beyond the downpour, why this keeps happening? This latest flood isn't an isolated event. It's part of a recurring pattern in Lagos, especially during the rainy season. The root causes are structural and human. Poor or outdated drainage systems that can't cope with heavy rainfall, illegal construction on floodplains and restrictions that impede water flow, waste dumping, clogging drains and canals, inadequate urban planning and enforcement, rising tide and sea level pressures given Lagos's coastal positioning. Wahab himself admitted that despite ongoing desilting and drainage improvements, the challenge is enormous and requires consistent, multi-year investment and public cooperation. What needs to be done and what you can do. What the government must focus on. Upgrade drainage capacity, especially in flood-prone corridors. Accelerate and complete pumping stations in low-lying areas. Strict enforcement against illegal structures and unapproved reclamation. Public education campaigns on waste disposal and environmental responsibility. Early warning and emergency response systems to evacuate or protect vulnerable residents. What residents and community groups can do. Avoid dumping refuse into drains, report illegal construction near waterways, support or initiate community-level cleanups, lobby municipal officials to prioritize flood prevention, take personal preparedness steps, sandbags, elevated storage, etc. Final thoughts. Milestone or mirage? The floods that shut down vast swaths of Lagos this week are a grim reminder. Even a megacity like Lagos struggles when natural forces meet human neglect. While the government's response shows intent, historically, promises have rarely matched the scale of destruction. If Lagos is ever to break free from this cycle, from waterlogged streets to broken businesses, the change must be structural, sustained, and inclusive. From drainage systems to citizen behavior, from urban planners to environmental enforcers, every link in the chain must be strengthened. Only then can a flooding event like this stop being another news headline and become a turning point toward a genuinely resilient Lagos.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this update and want to stay informed with fast, reliable news, don't forget to subscribe to Newsflash 360. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Your next headline is just seconds away.